to the
Green Room.
Paints, games, chats.
Come into the Green Room.
This is where the party's at.
Party at the Green Room.
Got guests here to stay.
Welcome to the Green Room.
Best party of your day at the Green Room. Hello. Good evening, everyone. And welcome to another classic edition of everyone's favorite Twitch show, The Green Room. Yes.
It's already a classic.
It's a classic already. What does it take for something to become a classic? I don't know. These are the questions we will unravel tonight.
Yes.
On The Green Room.
Instant classic.
As always, I am your host, Justin. My pronouns are he, him. With me, I have two very special people. But before I introduce them, I should introduce this channel. If you're new to Ghostlight RPGs, welcome. We are a community of theater artists and beyond, keeping the lamp lit via remote role-playing games. And also shows like this, where I just paint minis and talk to people. Because why not? But that's what we're about. The Green Room is just a chill place. So you may recognize these faces. I hope you do. They are performers on the channel. I'll let them introduce themselves. Why don't we start with Kristin?
Sure. Hi, I'm Kristin. I use she, her pronouns. I am an creative, broadly speaking, and also a writer, specifically speaking, and I act sometimes. Lately, mostly just in role-playing games.
Wow.
I also work at a library. I live in New York, but like upstate or downstate, depending on if you're in the city or actually in upstate New York. Also known as the Hudson Valley is the area I'm referring to. Yeah, and I'm happy to be here with Justin and Graham.
I love it. Sorry, we just got raided, and I'm trying to.
Yes.
Oh,
Welcome,
wow.
Raiders.
Thanks for
Hey.
that, everyone. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm completely off my game now.
No, you're good.
Welcome, thanks, Gentleman Rhino.
Wow.
Thanks for raiding. We literally just got started, so you haven't missed a thing. But yeah, if this is your first time to Ghostlight, welcome. We are friendly people. But yeah, Kristin just introduced herself. Graham, why don't you go ahead?
Sure. Thank you. I'm Graham Ward. I use him, he, him pronouns in any order you choose. And I am the content manager for Ghostlight RPGs, as well as being on the Contraband right now. I've run some other stuff, including one-shots. There was a D&D horror series that we did called Blood of My Blood, which I ran and had a lot of fun doing. And just in terms of like my general life, I am a GM for hire. I run games, especially D&D for Bald Man Games, who does like Gen Con and the virtual D&D weekends. And I'm also an actor in theater, doing theater right now in Colorado. And I enjoy moody lighting.
Moody lighting. I love it. Is there a problem? Can everybody see us? Let me know in the chat if anybody can't see us, or if that was just a glitch or a fluke or something. But mood lighting, friendly frying, faces, we have it all here. Cool hats. Everyone likes your hat, Graham.
Oh.
Cool.
I run D&D with a group from London, and they make fun of this hat. They say that I'm trying to make a caricature of them.
You're trying too hard. You just want to fit in. All right, thanks, Gentleman Rhino. Gentleman Rhino, thanks for coming. This is you're awesome. Thank you. Yeah, cool. Let's jump in. But before that, I do want to just say Happy Pride, everybody.
Yeah.
This has been a blast of a week for me. I just had my birthday. Yesterday was my birthday, and so June is always like the busiest time for me. But I'm so happy that we're here and we are in Pride Month. This is great. So we love all of you, whether you're living your true self or you are still trying to figure out where you're going or who you are. You're welcome here. So thanks for joining us. yeah, and anybody who doesn't know, let me just go back real quick and do this again. If anybody doesn't know what Ghostlight's all about, we are just a community of artists basically doing role-playing games. So we tell different stories, we have different adventures, more like it. And we have 2 currently running, Zoa Stardust on Sunday mornings, and The Contraband on Friday nights. And that's where you can see these 2 fine folks. They are both phenomenal in that. That is why I didn't stream yesterday. Yes, I was partying with my wife, which was great, by the way. So yeah.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, thank you.
Should we sing? I do love Zoom singing. Like, the more people on a Zoom call trying to collectively sing a song
Yes.
together, the more hilarious I think it becomes.
Well, now we
Doesn't
have
Zoom
to.
often do a thing where it cancels everyone but one? It like selects a single viewer.
Oh,
We're gonna
does
find
it?
out.
That happened to me.
I'm not on Zoom. My voice is coming through a different channel, so it's just you 2.
Oh.
You're gonna have to sing me happy birthday now.
Okay. I'm
Are
down.
we doing it?
I
You're
think
doing
so.
Why don't you pick the starting note?
What's here? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to
you.
Happy
Happy
birthday,
birthday,
dear
dear
Justin.
Justin. Or not Justin. Happy birthday to you.
You
Wow,
can tell Graham can actually sing.
what a time! Here's the sad truth. I celebrated with my family on Monday, and you guys sang. The 2 of you sang way better than them.
Dear.
There's a thing where it's like when people sing happy birthday, it's always like everybody's waiting on each other, and then it turns into this like
Yes.
melancholy, like happy birthday to you, and it's but not like even that nice. It's just a
Yes.
You know.
My good friend Torsten Hillhouse has a secret move he does where he speeds up the pace and he forces everyone in the room to sing fast. And he
Yes.
does it. He like pulls it out every time there's a birthday party. He's always like, happy
That's so
birthday to
good.
you. It's
Yeah.
kind of smart.
Gotta just plow ahead.
Yeah. I tried to do it a little bit and then failed miserably. So
It's hard to pull ahead on Zoom, I think.
yeah.
Thank you everybody for the happy birthday messages. You're all fantastic. Yeah, somebody's got to clip that for us, so that we can remember it forever. All right, well, you came here to get to know these 2. We should probably jump into that. But before we do, hang on real quick. Gentleman Rhino says we used to do a 75 people strong monotone zombie happy birthday at work. Everyone was in on it until we did it for someone who was only there a week. Yeah, I'm sure
That
that
sounds
came
like an
off.
absolute chaos.
I would have, yeah, but like to be the one person who didn't know it was planned or that it was happening, be pretty awesome. I love it. So let's talk. Let's chat. Graham, you have been on the show before. We've heard your background in role playing and in tabletop and all kinds of things. But Kristin, I mean, I personally don't know like anything about you. I'm very excited to get to know you. So yeah, let's chat. First of all, like let's just talk. Like, how did you get into tabletop role playing? What was that story?
Well, I think like many women or people assigned female at birth, I got into tabletop role-playing because I had an older brother and I begged him to let me play with him and his friends
Amazing.
who were 3 years older than me. And I think mom might have even intervened and like forced him to let me play with them. And that's how I got my auspicious start. It was like my mom forcing my older brother to let me play.
So, how old were you?
I would have probably been like 11 or 12, pretty
Okay.
young.
No, I mean that's.
Yeah.
I
I don't know. How young is that? How old were y'all?
Around the same age.
I was an
Okay.
adult.
Oh,
I was a fully grown, mustachioed man, and but I felt like an 11-year-old the first time I played, so it all balances out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool. I used to work at a game store, and I would teach kids to play sometimes. And I mean, I usually recommended they like 10 and up personally, because anything lower and it just gets kind of tricky. But parents don't like to hear that, and so I was playing with like 6 and 7-year-olds at times. I mean, we weren't really playing; we were like just kind of telling an adventure together, and then like on occasion rolling dice. So 11 is fantastic age to start, I would say. Yeah, I think that's good. What do you think, Graham? Have you ever played with kids?
Yeah, I run a weekly game for a family, 2 families actually. There are 5 kids and then the 2 dads. And yeah, a good variety of like genders and dispositions amongst the kids. And they're hilarious. They're totally unpredictable. I have to sometimes really pin them down and be like, okay, where are you going? Because they'll just honestly like sit there and chatter and make memes about the game while we're playing, and that's like they're totally happy just doing that, which is also great.
I mean, it sounds like they're having fun.
And you can often sense, like in that situation, I've run for other families too, and like for the parents are often, especially, I don't know why, like the dads are often like, okay guys, come on, we gotta like finish this quest, otherwise I'm not gonna level up tonight.
Yeah. That is I mean, in my opinion, that's the hardest part, is the focus. I mean, with most adults I play with, that is also the hardest part. So, I mean, you can imagine being a kid and trying to focus on that right now. Anyway, okay, so Kristin, did your brother still play?
Yes, yeah. And sort of throughout the years, I've sort of periodically played with him. Now, my mom does not have to intervene and like force him to play with me. Now we'll like play just as adult siblings. That's great.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's really fun. I wish, well, I take that back. I have a little brother who plays, but my older sister does not play.
Not even interested?
No, not really. She's got, too much real world adventures going on to have to deal with the fake ones. We do play board games together. I mean, there is that. But yeah, I think the role playing is a little too much for her. I don't know that. I mean, she might be. I mean, I haven't really tried too hard to get her interested in retrospect. So.
Maybe she's just been sitting there the whole time, like they never invite me.
She's watching.
Why doesn't
right
mom
now.
force them?
She's like, come on. Yeah. But my little brother and I do play together. In fact, he just ran a one-shot for me. He's 19, by the way. He ran a one-shot for me and some friends for my birthday on Sunday. And that it was fantastic. It was so good. Graham, you know Josh. And I mean, I've watched him kind of grow as a DM. And I mean, he was playing before me, technically speaking. But I've just DM'd more, I think. But anyway, he's gotten so good. We had a blast. So yeah, hooray for playing with siblings.
Can I ask, what's like a birthday role play? Like did you get, was it like total wish fulfillment? Did you get like special treatment, like your character?
That's a good question. Okay, so real quick, little background story. The first time that I ran a D&D game was for my own birthday. I forced my friends to play a game that I spent hours on. I DM'd. I made the whole thing. I made all their characters because I knew that they weren't going to want to. And we played for like 8 hours. It was intense. So that was my first birthday campaign. This one was much more easy. I mean, for me personally, because I was just playing in it. No special. I mean, we played level 10 characters, which was a perk because that's something that I don't get to do often. And he made it like, okay, the best way I can explain this to you, like if you go to Olive Garden, which nobody does, but we'll just say for the sake of this, you do. If you go to Olive Garden and you get the taste of Italy, it's like comes with lasagna and just stick with me, and Alfredo and like some other thing. We used to go there a lot when I was a kid. It's like the sampler platter, right? That's basically what he delivered to me on Sunday in the best of ways. He gave me like a smorgasbord of the best parts of like classic D&D. He played Strahd. He played a beholder. He played there was a dragon. There was a heist. There was it was so much.
Wow.
So I think
virtuoso.
Yeah, it was crazy. I loved it. I don't know if that answers your question.
I mean, I think it does. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was your birthday role playing.
It was.
Sounds great.
Just being able to play and not have to DM was a gift. So that was really fun. Yeah. Speaking of DMing, Kristin, have you ever been a DM?
No. And like, I was thinking about it because I think I tend to undersell myself, and I sort of for like years was just like, oh, I don't play that much. And then I realized I've been saying that for years all while playing. And at some point you've spent years pretending you haven't been playing the whole time. Anyways, so I've been playing since I was 10, like off and on. But I have come to this realization as of like last month that I would like to. Like, I think I am ready to try and GM something. And I don't totally know what. I don't know what system. Maybe I should just start with D&D. But I know both of you DM a lot. So if you have any advice or like where to start, I'm all ears.
I'd jump at the chance to play in your game. I think like the way your brain works in the time that we've played, and I've gotten to see you play on the one shot Fistful of Vengeance. Anyway, I just think I think of course you would be great at it.
Well, thank you. I think I'd be okay. Yeah.
I don't know. I think your library skills will really come in handy. I think.
Seriously.
I mean, it's funny you bring that up. So I work at a library, and I just started this job 5 months ago, but our whole library staff is starting a game. Like, everyone on the library staff wanted to play, so we're having to split it up into 2 groups. And my friend David is going to do the first round, but this might actually be where I do my first DMing, is with my library friends.
That's good. Is that good?
That.
I mean, like, they're a good group for you to start with, you think?
Oh, yeah. Like,
cool.
Well, and a lot of them have never played before, actually. So maybe it's not a good group to start with. I don't know. Like, if they have no experience, but...
Sometimes that's liberating.
Yeah.
Because no one's there to call you out, or like, you can just be like, whoa, they're not going to know.
Yeah. Just fudge all the numbers. That's the worst part for me is trying to do math very quickly. So.
Yeah. Yeah. There's math. Hey, Cat Carter.
Very
What's
little
up?
math.
Welcome. Well, I had a follow-up question there and I dropped it. Dropped the ball. First time DMing. You were saying D&D. I mean,
oh yeah,
I think D&D would be good to start with, just because you know how to play it from a player perspective. I mean, obviously there are more, lighter rules games out there to DM, but I think just go with what you know. Honestly, I think if you know how to play from that perspective of it, it's gonna be so much easier DMing it. Yeah. So I think you're on the right track. That'll be fun. You have to let us know how it goes next time you're on.
I will. Yeah, I'll let you know.
Graham, obviously you DM for a living. That's big. I feel like I say this every time you're on, but has anybody hit you up from Ghostlight stuff? Has anybody seen like Blood on My Blood and said, hey, we saw you on this, we want you to DM for us? Has anything come of that?
Yes. So because Blood of My Blood was set in the Dark Plane campaign setting, which is like the setting that I kickstarted back in 2015, I was running some of those games for the virtual D&D weekends as sort of like a special author event. And I frequently would get people be like, yeah, we watched Blood of My Blood and we want to play this, or vice versa. They would play in it and say like, I want to know more. And then they would go watch Blood of My Blood, which is all still on YouTube. So that was like a very unique setting. And so I think people are like interested in learning more about it. Not that Blood of My Blood was like a huge lore dump. It was more like kind of this intimate story.
Yeah, but I mean, in that intimate story, was a lot of lore. And I think people really gravitated towards it. That's really cool. Good for you. Talk to us more about DMing as a career. What are the highs and the lows? What are you?
Oh,
what's
man,
your
I
weekly,
mean,
what are you doing every week?
There's so much to talk about, and probably not all of it's interesting. It's like doing anything else with strangers, where sometimes it's really rewarding, and then just by virtue of personalities clicking or not clicking, sometimes it's less rewarding and it feels more like work. I'll tell you, the worst D&D gig I ever did was a corporate gig where they were doing like a corporate retreat for some kind of software company. And it was very clear that not everyone wanted to be there. And so I got like one player who was pretty interested. He was like, yeah, I've wanted to play D&D for a while. And then two players who were like, what is this? Why would I be doing this as part of my job? And I could not even get them to name their characters.
Oh, no.
So they ended up naming their characters after their department at the job. So like literally
Like it was like HR or
yeah, literally one was like a high elf that was like whatever the company was named and HR. And I was like, okay.
It never ceases to amaze me how some people just won't let themselves like have fun or like just do a thing. Just like just try it out. You know what I mean?
Although, to be fair, if it was like a corporate job I hated and like the corporate overlords were like, have fun now, I would also be like screw this.
Yeah,
Sure.
Could be. And honestly, if they had been having fun, and maybe they did, I'd like to think that it was some fun for them.
Yeah.
But even if they were having fun, like awesome. I have no judgment about what you name your character or whatever. But it did feel a little bit like, ooh, they do not want to be doing this. So anyway, that's the worst
just
D&D gig I've ever done. And then some of the best are like amazing, and like we still play with people. Like I met Sumkey at Winter Fantasy in 2020. It was like the last convention that a lot of us went to before COVID locked everything down. And like, yeah, we just had a blast and kind of stayed in touch a little bit on Twitter and played a couple more times. And now he comes and watches all the streams and he's the best. So,
He's the
you
best.
just never know like which it's going to be or somewhere in between.
Gotcha. Oh, hey, no worries, ECAT Carter. Have fun with Spellbound.
Yes, Spellbound.
Spellbound. Shout out to Spellbound. Wait, I think it's on the... Let me try this.
Oh, it better be. That's a podcast, for those who don't know,
Spellbound?
run by ECAT Carter, who also plays and runs as part of Ghostlight RPGs and does a lot of other behind-the-scenes stuff.
There we go.
Yeah.
There's a little link for you in the chat there. Go check it
They're
out
awesome.
if you need a new podcast to listen to. It's fantastic. Okay, wait, we have a question here. It's a D&D question, everybody. If a character has 2-weapon fighting, does their first attack have to be on the same target? Also, if they get extra attack at 5th level, can that extra attack be on a different target? I know the answer to the second one, and it can be on a different target.
It's the same answer.
And
All of them. Any
you
attack
can-
can be on a different target unless it specifies it has to be on the same one.
Ha! There you go.
Sometimes they specify that it needs to be on a different target as
Yeah.
well. But in that example that you're asking about ECAT Carter, it's all can be on anyone you want.
I love it. I love it. If anybody else has DM questions, our DM for hire is open. We're paying him for this time in love and candy. So if you have more questions for D&D Graham, I meant DM Graham.
That could be like a whole stream, like weekly stream.
Yeah, just phone your local friendly local DM. We'll come over.
I got some
we'll
horror
workshop
stories
the
I could
titles.
tell.
All right, let's get down to talking. Yeah, good. Let's talk about the DM helpline. Let's talk about your characters in the Contraband. So, Graham, you play Brom Borden. I said it right,
Yes.
didn't I?
Yeah.
You punch stuff. You're grizzled and old and cranky.
I'm not old. This is a misconception.
You're not
that
old?
is-
Oops.
That is the fault of Ted, our DM, who accidentally called me old in the first session. He's only like 40.
Oh, okay. I think I can't help but picture the one character you created for the one Tomb of Annihilation that we were trying to start together. And
Yeah,
you
we had
create
like
this, old sea captain.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
who I picture
different.
sometimes. But
I do
anyway.
like playing grizzled people, whatever their gender be. But
Yeah.
yeah, so I can talk about Brahm a little bit. Brahm is a horribly traumatized character with like the worst backstory of all time. I keep joking that like in Blades in the Dark, you retire, or you are like kicked out of the game if you get, either good things like enough gold, you can retire, or if you get enough trauma, you either die or, drift out of the story. My joke is that Brahm will get to retire when he officially receives all of the traumas that were like in his backstory when I originally created him. Yeah, so he is haunted and reckless. But the man has just suffered some terrible things. He was a teacher who was politically active and wrote like this firebrand manifesto denouncing the leadership of the city that the game takes place in. And then as a result of that was falsely accused of some terrible stuff having to do with his conduct with students. And it just completely destroyed his life, basically as political revenge from his enemies. And now he is figuring out his relationship with politics and whether he still has that fire or if it's been snuffed out completely. And instead, he just is in this like self-destructive spiral. But with glimmers of hope and some glimmers of silliness, which I try to bring in so that he's not just like the most depressing character on Earth.
I don't think he's depressing at all when I watch, but
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
No.
I mean, some of it I think is like just under the surface a little bit, maybe. So maybe I'm more aware of it.
I always get like real Wolverine vibes personally, and that's probably just because of my big Marvel fandom. But
I love that.
in like the best of ways, just like
Yeah.
always ready for a rumble.
Well, he does kind of talk like this, so he's a little bit Wolverine-y.
Yeah. Yep. Please play Wolverine with that voice now. Kristin,
Yeah.
talk to us a little bit about the girl and how mysterious she is.
Oh, I know. Well, because some of her backstory has not been revealed on stream at all, but I think there's sort of enough out there that it's clear that she sort of grew up bouncing around families. A foster system is probably anachronistic to the world, and anachronistic is the wrong word because it's a fantasy world anyways, but yeah, so the girl, one of the things that I was thinking about when I was creating the character is that there's so many orphan characters in role-playing games where the point is that they don't have a family, and I thought it would be really fun to have a kind of orphan character that has many different families scattered throughout the city.
Yeah.
So anyway, so the girl, she has many different names as she sort of bounced around different places. And because she was bouncing around different places and like very drastically different households, she sort of became a chameleon and figured out how to change personas so that she could adapt to different situations, and sort of has a Rolodex of personas that she like will pick up and use, and often sort of instrumentalizing a sense of femininity, or some aspects of femininity, because I was very curious about what that would look like. Yeah, and I think she's sort of unclear who she is because she's just had to be so many different people to so many different people.
Yeah.
But she's fallen in with this band of misfits, and they're all sort of, asking her about who she is, and she's trying to figure it out, which is fun.
I like that. There's something really special about the chemistry that among this group too, that it just kind of it pops a bit. There's, I'm sure anybody who's watched this channel for not that long even, can tell that I tend to gravitate more into like really, poppy, what am I trying to say? The current campaign I'm running is about anthropomorphic animals. The prior campaign I ran was about anthropomorphic toys. Like, there's something about like a cartoony, almost like animated feel to a story or to a world that really draws me in. So a world full of like just humans usually is kind of a turnoff for me. But there's something about the world of this, campaign, but specifically more just like the characteristics, the personalities that you all have, that is really exciting to me. So it's a compliment from me.
We always joke that like in Blades in the Dark, it's set up so that you're supposed to do a score every session, and like the session revolves around your score, where you're trying to like either get cash or we're smugglers.
Yeah.
So we're always doing some kind of smuggling gig. But we always joke that like the session is all about the characters like making scenes that have no mechanical purpose. It's just us doing long form improv, and then the score is kind of like, oh yeah, we should do that at the end.
Honestly though, like I feel like that's kind of a consistency with our Ghostlight shows. I mean, maybe, I don't know, what do you guys think? I feel like most of our shows really shine through on the role play and on the just kind of like doing the things that are unexpected in a way. The long scenes, the drama, the character connections, those are where I think pretty much all of our shows really shine. I don't know. That's what I like about it, because we're all kind of theater artists or in different ways creatives, and I think we all kind of have a connection to that type of telling, to that form of telling a story, I would say. So like, I don't know. I think it shines through. I think it's great.
Yeah, it's been really cool watching the girl, and like how, just to bring it back to what you're talking about, Kristin, where like everyone in the party or in the crew in Blades in the Dark is like reaching toward you, trying to like form a relationship, but the girl still sort of stays this like outsider. It's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, and that came up in the last session because I think she felt like she had been brought into a group and didn't understand everything that was happening. And of course, like there's a part of this that is because I joined the campaign late. Like there's a part of that is just Kristin like not understanding some of the things that happened in the campaign that we did before we started streaming. And playing that is like fun for me. But also that's what I like about, I mean, this game in particular and just role playing in general is I love getting to role play out kind of tense scenes between characters, because I think so often in our day-to-day, those are the conversations we have in the shower or in the car where we're like mad at a coworker, but we can't confront them. But in role playing and in D&D, you get to just like go for it. And I think that's like really beautiful and freeing.
Absolutely.
That's some of my favorite scenes in role playing, is those confrontations.
Sorry, just respond down here, typing.
No, you're good.
I think that's real. And Blaze in the Dark is just so nice that like we don't have to boil it down to rolling dice every time. We can just sort of live in the world. And you know, like I've done long form improv for like 12 years, and 9 of that or 10 of that is part of like a one troupe. And so the longer people live with characters together and like improvise and get to know each other's sort of sensibilities and instincts, you get this great group mind. And I think that's part of what you're talking about, Justin, with the Blades group, that like we in the Contraband, we have started to form that. It's cool.
Yep.
Although we haven't been playing together that long. I mean, we've streamed like 4 or 5, I think 5 episodes.
I think 5.
And then we played roughly about that amount just to like warm up. So anyway, interesting. It's just a cool group. I really enjoy playing with everyone.
Yeah, love it. Long live the Canadian improv games. Love it so much. Okay, I got a few interesting questions for you guys. What is one thing you have in common with your character, and one thing that you think is pretty different?
Oh man, Graham, do you?
You can take them one at a time too, if you like. Just have the first part of an answer, or something.
I think Ted, the GM, will make fun of me and say that I want to be an unknowable miasma. Because me, Kristin Perkins, would love to be an unknowable miasma.
Yeah.
Just because I feel, I think I've been in many situations in my life, and this might sound a little pretentious, but I can tell you some specifics where I didn't quite fit in. Like I was a queer woman who attended BYU, which is a Mormon school and very religious. I was like a queer Mormon at a Catholic monastery, and like all these situations where I just like am very resistant to being labeled or defined. And for me, the girl, it allows me to have a bit of fun with that and fun with sort of moving between characters. And also, I think she has a desire to feel like there's something grounding and authentic about herself that she's searching for and she doesn't know how to get to. And I can relate to that feeling, I guess, as I think can most people. Because we talk a lot about like being yourself, but that's a lot of pressure to like understand yourself well enough to be yourself. My goodness gracious. So that's something I have in common.
Answer. Wow. Graham?
Yeah, what an answer. Oh
that's like a little specific and a little
No,
deep,
that's fantastic. I asked Carson the same thing last week, and he gave this like in-depth like summary of who he is as a person, and I wasn't I was like, I also like to, drink a lot or whatever. I don't know. I love it though. I love how serious, how not serious, but how I don't know, compelling these answers are getting. So, Graham?
Well, the interesting thing about Blades in the Dark is that it gives you an avenue to explore the character's vice, which is not just a flaw that you can play with their personality, but also it's a mechanic or a mechanism in the game.
Mm-hmm.
So when you indulge your vice, it relieves the stress that your character has been building up. So you can see when we play that there's a little ticker that shows our stress go higher and higher and higher. And then when we indulge our vice, it goes back down. So Brahm's vice, it kind of started off as just fighting people or like getting hurt, but it kind of evolved as we were developing the game into he just wants to lose control. And I think that's like a wish fulfillment thing. So it's probably a difference. Not that I'm like a big control freak. I'm a pretty on the sleeve kind of person. Like usually what you see is what you get with me. But at the time, when I was making the character, we're like in lockdown. I had 2 kids and like I'm trying to make ends meet. And like, my wife and I, Bethany, who I think some of our viewers know, like we're trying to make our life work. And so Brahm became like this like opposite alter ego where like his life was a complete disaster. It was like the opposite of a wish fulfillment character.
Right.
I don't know if there's a term for that. Probably Kristin knows. I don't.
Oh, I don't know. The opposite of wish fulfillment. What's the opposite of a wish? I don't know.
Like everything that I dreaded,
yeah.
I felt might be happening in my life. Like, and so he became this character where he would just absolutely let loose, and he had this horribly self-destructive vice, which was basically he would like everything you could think of. He'd get drunk, he would lose control, he would pass out in an alley, he would mistreat people, beat people up, get beaten up. And that was like his only way of surviving, because he was like simultaneously punishing himself, but also just like searching for some kind of feeling after his life was destroyed. So that's a difference. I mean, my life is very straight-laced compared to that. Like, I don't drink. I've never been in a real fight, so that's super different from me. In terms of similarities, I think that I just like the moments when Brahm will be forced to engage with like a high status figure, or there's like a social situation where someone is kind of making assumptions about him and he enjoys like proving them wrong. I think that's something that I have in common with him.
Yeah. Good.
So like there was this scene where Varric, character who's kind of like of noble birth, asked me to wait outside while he introduced or he like went in to greet his rich friend. And and Brom got to sort of like look at him and be like, "Oh, really? Yeah, you want me to wait out here? So okay, I'll do that. The poor man is gonna wait on the street while you go inside and talk to the fancy person."
That was such a good scene.
Thanks.
Kristin, any thoughts on
difference?
a difference?
I do have a name. It is Kristin, and I will say I also just like my name. I know a lot of people kind of like fight with their names at different points in their lives, or they're 6 years old and they want to be called Hawk or whatever it is.
Sure.
I've always been great with Kristin, so that's a difference.
It fits you well.
Thanks.
Yeah, we had some thoughts on wishful thinking, maybe doom fulfillment or fearful thinking. Good.
Doom fulfillment, that definitely could like fit nicely into my aesthetic.
Good question from Kate here in the chat. For both of you, what has been your favorite moment so far for your characters? And also for Kristin, follow-up question, do you have a favorite persona that you've portrayed so far?
Yeah, well, I'll say one of my favorite moments was getting to dance with Hicks, just because it was fun. Like, I think it's fun to play drunk. Although I after the stream closed, I was like, that felt a little more like the girl was getting high and not like the girl was getting drunk. But either way, if you're with Hicks, I think that's fair.
Yeah.
I think it was fun. I think the girl, and I think Graham even pointed this out, and it was a good observation, but like Hicks who's played by Ben Isaacs in our game and is the spider and like this kind of mastermind character. Hicks is so determinedly themselves, like in every situation, and the girl just doesn't have a very clear sense of who herself is. So in this way, they're kind of on opposite sides, but they could go dancing and kind of enjoy being in the sauce, lost in the sauce.
Lost in the sauce.
Lost in the sauce. I don't know where I picked that up. That's a meme phrase that I like a lot.
I love
yeah,
it.
I think so.
I'm
like
gonna have
lost
to
in the
find
sauce.
it now. Lost in the sauce.
And the other question was really good, Kate. Which was
Your favorite?
Oh, favorite persona.
Yeah.
I had fun with the woman who I met because she was selling mushrooms and she made me tea, and it was this sort of motherly character, and it was fun to be like, am I too young for this? But one of my favorite characters is a persona who's called Jilly Youngblood, who cries pretty tears. I think this happened in session 0, but she's just sort of so like middle class and like a lost pretty girl who just needs someone to please, like, if you could just help me, I would, be so grateful. So she's sort of like always a little weepy and like just trying to evoke other people's protective instincts. That's very fun to play.
Yeah.
That's very fun to
Absolutely.
play.
It's fun because it feels like such a like a commentary or a parody of what otherwise might actually be a real character in an RPG game, like if it was less intentional.
Sure.
Yeah.
I love it.
That's a fun one.
Graham, thoughts on favorite moment for
Brom? I don't know. It might have been the time that I was talking about where Brom got to go to the rich man's house and just like everyone, I could see all the other players watching me to see if I was going to keep my shit together. Like they all expected Brom to go in and just like kick this guy in the face and like beat him savage. But I don't know. I had fun like holding that back and proving that Brom has a history as a school teacher and like isn't just some dumb lout.
Yeah.
So that was fun. And like, I'm always looking for opportunities to play opposites with him because I think he is a character of contradictions, but I don't know. That sounds so like actory to say, but that's probably
This whole thing is actory. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
It's great. Cool. Final question from me, at least. If you guys have any questions for each other, let's do it. The contraband. Drugs. What are you obsessed with? What's your addiction? What's the thing that you can't get enough of?
I love the nerd
man.
nachos segue.
You like that?
Yeah.
There was gonna be a whole
Drugs.
bunch of talking in between. I was just like, no. Word association. Let's just go.
Well, I really thought you were about to say what's your drug of choice.
What's your drug of choice? Well, I had
metaphorically,
that. I scratched it out because I was like, maybe we shouldn't.
My answer would be very boring.
Yeah, that was the real reason I scratched it out. It's because I figured I would.
No, I know
too good
Graham is
answers.
just a loser.
Loser doesn't even do drugs. Oh. But yeah, like what's your addiction? What's your obsession? What do you like? Or even it doesn't have to be like overall your whole life. Just like right now, like what are you super into right now? And D&D cannot be the answer, Graham.
I have like a few things.
List them.
Oh, y'all, I'm like in the midway point of being radicalized. Y'all don't have to follow me into this, but I'm taking a class called Anti-Capitalism for Artists, and it's been incredible. Like, I just feel like so much of my life makes sense. Okay, so I'll say that. I'll set it aside. We should all read some Marxist theory. Anti-Capitalism for Artists. I'm sort of always obsessed with mushrooms, and I don't mean in the drug sense. I know. Yeah. So, one of my friends is taking me mushroom hunting, and I just think mushrooms are such cool little creatures. Like, they're not plants and they're not animals. They're this other thing, and they're so important to our ecosystems. I'm sort of obsessed with mushrooms. I have a poster on my wall of mushrooms.
Love it.
And then I'm trying to get everyone I can to play Mysterium, the board game, with me.
Yeah.
Yes, I
It's
love
like
that
So
game.
good. It's so good.
Yeah,
So,
it takes
that's another one.
a good amount of people, especially like hard to find during quarantine.
I know,
I get
yeah.
it. I haven't played that game in a long time because of that. But
We're coming out of quarantine. Well, I am at least. I'm vaccinated and feeling pretty safe, and I just keep talking to all my friends about getting together and playing Mysterium.
Let's
So how's
do it
that for like
sometime.
that's like, I know we should.
that's good. We can do it on stream.
Figure it out.
We could
Yeah.
totally do it on stream.
Oh yeah.
You can do
Tabletop
some
sim.
role-playing bits with Mysterium. It's
You
fun,
could.
It's
You
more
could.
fun if the ghost really plays the ghost role well.
Yeah.
So,
Graham?
Yeah, that's my slate.
I love it. That's a great
Broad
slate.
spectrum.
Awesome. What great answers. I want to talk to you more about Marxism.
We should.
And I want to talk to you more about mushrooms because
Great.
I like them. They're tasty. So.
Well,
Graham,
I've got way too many hobbies. That's
Yeah.
my running joke. Like, my wife is always like, "Oh, really? You're gonna do another hobby?" So for years recently, it's been miniature painting and terrain building. So I don't know if I don't probably have a way to like show this to anyone. I don't think, but maybe I'll post it on Twitter or
There you go.
something. But I built a model of Velkenvelv, the opening dungeon from Out of the Abyss, the D&D adventure. And it's like a 3-dimensional set of massive stalactites that are hollowed out into towers and then connected by like rope bridges, and there are ledges and caverns, and it's huge. I mean, the thing is probably like 7 feet long, and I had to cut it into pieces in order to store it. But it's like fully painted, and like I hand sculpted it out of foam. Anyway, so I went totally nuts on that and have been really wanting to do more, but then I had kids, and I actually made Velkenvelv while my oldest was, I want to say she was like just under a year, and to be totally honest, some of that time she was like holding onto my leg being like, "Daddy!" And I was like, I need to finish this for D&D night. And that was like the age or phase of kids when they like if you have your attention on anything, they just cannot handle it, or at least my kids. So I was really into that for a while, and I would really like to keep going with it. I have like a hot wire cutter and like tons of tools and materials, and just nary the time to do it. So that was my drug for years. While I was working in an office job, I would like come home and paint minis and sculpt terrain and like do the static grass. I don't know if anyone has ever seen like model train like terrain builders, but they have like this grass it gets a static charge and then it stands up straight. So you put down a layer of glue, and then you through the little dispenser you like put down the static grass, and it trickles down and then stands up. Anyway, it's really cool. So I've been really into that.
Nice. I just use the little grass patches. That's what
those are great. Yeah,
they're
for minis especially.
Sorry, for terrain, of course, you're gonna want to use much more than that. That makes sense.
Yeah, exactly.
Speaking of, yes,
white glue. White, to answer Gentleman Rhino's question, you want to use PVA white glue because it's longer drying time, but super glue actually can dry sometimes with like a texture or even like this kind of chalky color. Mm-hmm. So yeah,
good to know.
But in terms of like, I was gonna say more recently.
You go. What?
Yeah. No, you and I. More recently, my addiction has been. I've been watching. I don't know. I just like I don't want to paint myself as an expert on this thing. But I've been watching a lot of Miyazaki movies, the Studio Ghibli films, and partly because I'm sharing them with my daughter, who is obsessed with My Neighbor Totoro and Ponyo, which Ponyo cracks me up. I don't know if anyone's seen that, but it's kind of like a bizarre retelling of The Little Mermaid, but mixed with some other different ideas. And the dub has Liam Neeson playing like this wacky androgynous wizard, which is amazing. Anyway, so my daughter, I have a video of her running along the lake. We went to Lake Michigan recently as like our first outing. And she's running along the beach, pretending to be Totoro. She's like 3. It's just so funny. So I've fallen in love with those movies, seeing my daughter fall in love with them, which has been really cool. So that's my current drug.
Beautiful. I love it. Well, I don't want to keep you guys too much longer here. It is about time for us to wrap up. And by wrap up, I mean wrap up this section of the show. If you're watching and maybe aren't aware, we're going to take a 5 here, and then I'm going to come back and do some painting. Of late, I have been painting the Marvel United minis. So tonight, I'm going to try and knock out 2 of them because I'm feeling particularly ambitious. So I'll be working on Drax and Gamora tonight.
Nice.
We'll see how far I can get with them. I finished Star-Lord last week, who's getting there. And then just to show you guys what we have so far, Groot and Rocket Raccoon as well. That's not, I know it's a little blurry, but that's right. Anyway, so
love it.
But before we get to that, I do want to actually address that question we had in the chat just a little while ago from Gentleman Rhino. Question to the DMs: how do you engage the different types of players in your games? The combat players, the social players, the passive players. Yeah, I mean, people like different things. People, have different methods, right? So, Graham, what do you think? How do you try to meet people where they are?
There's a few ways to answer it, and I think there's also different methods that work for different people, different groups. In the end, though, sometimes certain players will just gel better together, and then you can know what they want and give it to them. If you have a group, though, that likes lots of different things, sometimes common among friend groups, where like not everyone wants to be the like actor, huge social role player, you have to end up giving them a little bit of everything and make sure everyone has their moment to shine or get the thing they want. And like, I think a good example are puzzles, because sometimes you'll have 1 or 2 players who love puzzles, but often like most of the players will look at it and be like, I would rather die than solve a Sudoku puzzle right now. And so but you have to like know if there are players who really don't like that thing, give them an out, give them something to do while the other players are doing that. Or like often a good technique you'll hear people talk about is to make puzzles optional so that they give you a benefit, but you don't have to solve the puzzle in order to progress. Because otherwise you just get like deadlocked doing a thing that people may not find fun, and then you like can't go forward until it's done.
Yeah, I mean, those are amazing tips. I highly agree with all of them. I think to generalize and just kind of paint a broad stroke over that, I would say just listening to what they're both telling you, saying, and also just like body language. You kind of get the gist if somebody's really into something, or if they're, a little more reserved, if they go to check their phone, if they, if they're not as interested in maybe some of those parts. And I mean, it's harder with like a one-shot type scenario or something where you're playing with these people and you have 3 hours to hopefully get them to enjoy themselves. But like in a long-running campaign where you're going to play with people over and over again, you start to pick up the little things here and there. And like Graham said, I think you just then from there take what you've learned and find those ways to help everybody enjoy themselves.
What kind of player do you think you are, Kristin?
I think I like the role playing. Like that, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Although it's fun to just feel like a badass in the middle of a fight. Like that can be like very fun. So
Absolutely.
Totally.
I'm the exact same way when I play. I love the role play, and then I love feeling like a badass in the fight. However, when I play, the dice never go on my side. I never get to do anything. I always try to do cool stuff, and it never works out for me.
I once played, unfortunately, like, and I'm sure Graham, you've experienced this, and Justin probably too, but with someone who was, after a certain point, it became clear that they were lying. We were playing Zoom, and they were lying about dice rolls. I think, and this is probably from the role-playing perspective, I think it's so fun to fail. It's so fun to fail. I think you're just shooting yourself in the foot when you don't admit that you got in a 1 or whatever it is.
Yeah,
so.
I agree. I think failure is how you get the juicy moments. That's why I like being, I think that's, well, without getting into all that.
Yeah, I mean, you could do like an hour-long conversation
I know.
about DM tips on how to make sure that failure doesn't feel punishing.
Oh, yeah,
And
well,
that's
true.
It's a huge topic, and
Yeah.
it's definitely easier for some people than others. I think it's like can be instinctive for some people.
Right.
Man, I've been in games where the DM is like, well, you didn't say that you looked in that window before you rolled your stealth check to sneak in. So there's a person in the room who saw you, and now all the guards are attacking, and you're like, okay, that's not failing forward. That's just unfun.
Yeah. Not how I like to play. All right. 3 more minutes. Let's just take this one last question. Nobody ask any more questions. There's too many good questions. But
This is a great question,
let's take this last one here from Sumkey. How has it been to run on stream over video? Have you had to learn new skills to read DMs or players? Oh, right, to kind of, like I was saying earlier, to kind of read people. It's a really good question. Yeah, I don't know. Jump in if you want to.
I'm hesitating because I don't want to just like jump in on every answer.
Well, I mean, I'm the host. I read the questions, you give the answers, and then I comment on your answers. That's how this goes.
Yeah, I haven't really felt like I need any skills in terms of understanding players, although it can be tricky because not everybody uses video when I'm running online.
Mm-hmm.
For the streams, that's obviously less of a problem because we use video because it's so important to the aspect of viewership. So in terms of our stream, the only thing that's really different for me is just making sure that I have an eye on the chat and trying to keep things moving so that we don't have a lot of like rules talk. Other than that, I pretty much, I mean, it depends on the style of the game. So some games you'll want to be a little more breezy and quick. Some games you'll want to, like really delve into the role play. It just sort of depends. But yeah, when people don't have video on, it can be hard. You really have to listen, or sometimes even just like don't be afraid of clarifying. But that's all I found.
Absolutely.
And then, I mean, there's the whole other skill set of like learning how to manage having 50 tabs open and dealing with things like a virtual tabletop. And
yeah, not talking about the technical side of things and really just more about like how the room shifts. I mean, to be honest with me, I got used to it really quickly. I mean, with the quality of a lot of these like Zoom calls or videos or whatever, I mean, for the most part, not a lot changed for me. The energy did, of course. And I didn't realize how much until about 2 weeks ago. I had my first in-person D&D session again with a regular group that had been playing exclusively online. And we got together and we giggled. We giggled when somebody said something in character. I think it was ECAT Carter, actually. She said something in character, and then I started to respond, and we just busted out laughing because she was 2 feet away from me. I was looking into her eyes and not at a screen, and it's such a shift in energy. It was just like fulfilling. I don't know how to describe it. And I didn't realize how much I had missed that. But as far as a DM, I honestly don't think, because we have the video, I feel like it's a lot. I haven't had to change much, I guess is my answer, personally.
I think I have like 2 quick thoughts. One is that I think, well, Zoom chat I think is actually really nice. Like, for when someone's role playing or like 2 characters are role playing, but I need like a really quick rule check. I'll just put in the Zoom chat like really fast. Is this 2 stress or 1 stress? And someone can answer me really fast too.
Absolutely.
Which is nice, especially if you're streaming, out into Twitch, into the world. I think the one thing that I lose with Zoom is the little moment when someone is trying to talk and in a room, you can tell that someone's about to try and talk.
Yeah.
And in Zoom, sometimes you can't. Like, it's just that subtle intake of air that you can hear in a room, but you can't hear over Zoom. But, and in some groups I played with, that's been an issue because we have people who talk over people. But mostly I think as long as people are like listening and trying to be generous about bringing people in, then people are aware of sort of like speaking time and who hasn't had a chance to speak recently, and sort of like trying to pay attention to that. But in a room, you do get that moment where like someone has an intake of breath and you're like, great, focus attention here, that you can miss in Zoom.
I think you're spot on with both of those answers.
That's really smart.
Okay, well, I'm going to talk now, and my talking point is that it was fantastic having both of you on the stream tonight, on the show. Again, don't go anywhere, people. We're going to be right back with some painting, with more chats. I'm happy to answer any questions that I can, although we will lose Graham and Kristin, but yeah, round of applause for you both. Thank you so much for being on. Make sure you go check them out on the Contraband on Friday nights at 7 p.m. Central. And yeah, anything else you guys want to give a shout out to or anything like that? Putting you on the spot.
You can find me on Twitter at DarkPlaneDM.
Go follow. Go hire him.
Yeah. I like don't have a social media presence, but like anti-capitalism.
Yeah, find it.
I love the anti-capitalism plug.
This organization is legit and they're super cool. Anti-capitalism for artists. If you want to check them out, especially if you're an artist, it's a very cool organization. And that's all I'll say about it. I hope I'm not isolating anyone in the chat. Great.
I love it. Do it. Go. Okay, we'll be right back with some painting. So stick around for that. And yeah, thanks so much again, guys. We'll see you later.
Thank you.